Welcome back to M&M Life on Purpose. Well before the time when William the Conqueror decided to build a castle at this location, Old Sarum was already steeped in history. This has been the site of Celtic forts, Roman forts, and even the prison of Eleanor of Aquitaine. According to the old Sarum exhibit boards, this open courtyard would have once looked like a small town and included luxurious accommodations, probably built for King Henry II. In the 16th century, the buildings were demolished and the smooth stones were used elsewhere. All that is left is the rough flint core that you see today. King Henry VIII gave his permission for the buildings to be demolished and the stones to be used as building materials. English heritage conserves what remains without rebuilding the castle. One of the little, fun facts that we found out about this area is that underneath the vegetation in Wiltshire, which is your Salisbury, Stonehenge, Avebury, which we're going to be visiting a little bit later, but underneath the vegetation is chalk. And so the hill fort of Old Sarum would have been this bright, easy to see from a distance white color. And then you had the buildings at the time would have been a light color as well. So from a historical perspective, it was a bit of a power stance. It would have been this shining beacon in the landscape that would have said, look, we're strong, we're powerful, we're here. And I thought that was really interesting. And we're going to find out a little bit more about how the white chalk was used as an artist's tool as we travel north through Wiltshire toward Avebury. So those were the steps into the tower.
So that was probably right here.
Yeah.
Never had a bridge there, maybe years ago. Fine. This was the part to have large banquets.
Great hall. I said these walls are the only remaining walls of a comfortable residence that overlooks the cathedral. So it says the toilets were not flushed by water, instead the waste fell into deep pits filled with straw and bark chippings. Someone had to be lowered into the pits to dig out the content. Yay.
That had to be the most junior person's job. Whew. Lose my hat here. That's why I got this thing. I know it. I need this hat. Stop, take off your shoes and see where history happened. Once you
Our travel itinerary for our first day in England takes us toward the world's largest stone circle and a probably over 3,000-year-old prehistoric chalk carving. Unexpectedly, we came upon the first of the 8 Wiltshire chalk horses. We were only able to see 2 of these, and these are more modern than the White Horse of Uffington at only about 250 years old, but it was still exciting to get to see them. Avebury Stone Circle is what remains of the largest stone circle in the world. It is over 4,000 years old and surrounded by a henge. A henge is a circular section, which is a bank surrounded on the exterior by a ditch. The henge and stone circle were probably built in the late Neolithic period, about 2500 BC. The large exterior stone circle surrounded two smaller interior stone circles. Avebury Stone Circle is free, and you can get up close and personal with the stones, if you're brave enough.
Now this was, the edge of it was an embankment was built up, and then the stones were placed around the edges of the embankment. This is the largest stone circle in the world. The replacement stones, these on the left, were placed there to mark where larger stones once stood.
And for my friends back home who warned me about touching standing stones, this is for you. Placing my hand on a standing stone was a lot of fun, particularly since I am a fan of fiction, specifically the Outlander series, the books more so than the films. But I'm also glad to be marked safe from a historical teleportation. I find my Michael perfectly tolerable, and I'm very fond of modern conveniences. So our time at Avebury came to an end, and we're continuing on toward the White Horse of Uffington, but we did get the opportunity to see another one of the Wiltshire white chalk horses along the way. The White Horse at Uffington is the oldest chalkland engraving in Britain. It dates back to about 1200 to 700 BC and measures 110 meters by 38.5 meters. And that also makes it the longest chalk carving in the country. We learned that the White Horse can best be seen through an aerial view from a drone, but the park does not allow visitors to fly drones without the appropriate permits. Nearby is Dragon Hill, the legendary site where St. George slew the dragon before he could consume the king's daughter. Time for a hearty meal and a well-deserved break at the Plough Inn in Boddington, close to Daventry. We'll see you bright and early in the morning.